Well, this seems like a good time for a letter.
It won.
Dear Tim and Moby, how do I find a line's slope and intercept? From Dana. Let's start with slope. The slope of a line is another word for its steepness.
Slope is steepness.
This ramp, for example,
Alfred,
is really steep. In math, slope is just a measure of how something changes vertically, or up and down, compared to how much it changes horizontally, or left and right.
Algebra 1, you're on me.
Well, to find a line's slope, you've got to look at two or more of its points. The line of this ramp can be thought of as a series of points that are connected. Right, the best way to visualize this is with a coordinate plane, a two-dimensional representation of space.
Coordinate plane, draw that picture.
For details on that, check our coordinate plane movie. Every point on a coordinate plane has a numbered location, kind of like coordinates on a map. A point's location along the y-axis is its y-coordinate, and its location along the x-axis is its x-coordinate. To find the slope of a line, you need to find out how much its coordinates change as the line goes along. Alright, let's take a look at 2 points along this here skate ramp. One point has the x-coordinate 5 and the y-coordinate 6, while the other has an x-coordinate of 0 and a y-coordinate of 1. To figure out the slope, we want to find out how the positions change exactly. The slope, or m, is equal to the amount of change in the y-coordinates divided by the amount of change in the x-coordinates.
Change in y over change in x.
Right. Some people call that rise over run.
Or rise over
It helps
run.
you remember that it's a vertical change over a horizontal change. Let's try it for the ramp. Our two y values are 6 and 1, and our two x values are 5 and 0. So the slope for this ramp is equal to the change in y, that's 6 minus 1, divided by the change in x, or 5 minus 0. The slope is 5 over 5, or 1. In other words, for every 1 meter this ramp goes up or down, it goes across 1 meter. You can find the slope of any straight line the same way as long as you know the coordinates of any 2 points.
George, I'm doing this with you. This is you.
Maybe you should go first. Oh, almost forgot the intercepts. An intercept is a point where a line hits or intercepts the x or y axis. For our ramp line, the x-intercept is minus 1, 0, and the y-intercept is 0, 1. Well, the y value of the x-intercept is always 0, and the x value of the y-intercept is always 0. What? That's just what happens. Using the slope and one intercept, we can write an equation for that line in what's called slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form is expressed as y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So for our line, that's y equals 1 times x plus 1. You can use this formula for all sorts of things, like finding more points on the line and even graphing it. Watch our Graphing Linear Equations movie for more on that. Yeah. Yes, we did what we came here to do. To the stairs.
So, algebra readiness, you should have been able to fill in your entire activity paper. I'll go over it very, very quickly. Algebra 1, I was almost done with the warm-up. You finished number 5 on your own. 7 I'll get back to. Slope. Freddie, what'd you get for slope? Vertical change or steepness. Algebra readiness. This is you, Joshua. You had better have this written down. Steepness. Vertical change. Walter, what'd you put for it? The very first one, what'd you put? Well, I'm telling you the answer, so you probably want to write steepness. For sure. Steepness. Number 2, coordinate plane. What did you draw? The graph, the x and the y chart. Just draw it in that little space. Number 3, y-coordinate. Which one's the y-coordinate? Up and down. You can say up and down. You can say vertical. The line going up, as long as I understand what you're writing and it's correct, yes. So if that's the y-coordinate, what's the x-coordinate?
Flat line.
The flat line, the horizontal line, the line that goes sideways. Lexi, what'd you write for the x-coordinate?
Flat line.
That works. What about rise over run? What'd you put?
Slope.
Tell me what you didn't get anything?
Isn't it like about the zero?
Can it just be slope? Isn't it
Slope.
easy?
For rise over run, one word would do it. Right slope. Vincent, do you have something for rise over run? Because this is 20 points. I just said the answer. Rise over run is slope. Write the word slope. Intercept. Thomas, what's an intercept? You didn't get it from the video? Tell me.
When the line's going across, like passing X or Y.
When it crosses the X or Y axis. Perfect. When the line crosses the X or Y axis.
When a point intercepts the x and the y axis?
Yes, when the point intercepts the X and the Y axis. I hope you have this done because I will be collecting this for grade. What'd you write, Joshua? We are on the intercept. Perfect. Slope intercept form. Please tell me you got this, Carol. What was slope intercept form? It had the equation on the movie. Tell me. Y equals mx plus b. You have to have that written down.
Oh, the bottom part?
Y equals mx plus b. You have to have that. The very last part says choose an additional term from the movie to define. I want you. Write one sentence. Tell me what you learned. If you didn't learn anything, you better fake something and tell me what you learned. Algebra 1, what'd you fill in for this?
2.
2. Actually, you should have filled in 1/2. Because how do you solve for x? How do you get x by itself? You add 1 to both sides. Then you divide by 2, so you get 1/2. You're graphing that. Algebra readiness, are there any questions? Turn your paper on the back. I haven't gotten to 7 yet. On the back of your paper, at the top, I want to see y equals mx plus b. Algebra 1, I will do number 7 with you in a bit. You have your life. You have your cover page. You have the steps. Number 2, Algebra 1, the top of page 426, there are 8 vocabulary words. Look them up in the back of the book. Algebra readiness, it's you and me. What's the M stand for in y equals mx plus b? Tell me. Slope. So on your paper, on the back of the notes that we were just taking, you're telling me that M stands for slope. What's the B stand for?
Intercept.
Perfect.
Y intercept.
Y intercept. This should be on the back of your paper at the top. You have y equal mx plus b. You have slope. You have y intercept. You'll write these 3 examples down. Vincent, you have these written down for sure. There's no excuse for you not to have them. Example letter A. Y equals 2x plus 3. Example B.
That's
Y
for them,
equals,
right?
yes, this is AR. X minus 2 and C. Y equals 1/2 x plus 4. AR. On the back of your notes, you have written A, B, and C. Algebra 1, you should be looking up the 8 vocabulary words in the back of the book. You save space for your warm-up. You were looking up, starting with the quadratic function. This is you, George. You're looking up quadratic function. You're going to end up copying them again, so that's up to you. So George and Carlos and Kevin, you should be looking up the vocabulary words on page 426. AR, you've already written this down. Olinda. Letter A, what's the slope? 2. But I thought slope was rise over run. Isn't that what it said in the movie? It said it was like rise over run. It was like a fraction. How do you put 2 as a fraction? 2 over 1. So I want to see A, slope equals
2 over 1.
You said 2 over 1. So then, Carol, what's the y-intercept? 3. Yep, you're doing that for A, you're doing that for B, and you're doing that for C, Thomas.
So chain.
So B. Freddie, what's the slope for B? B is up here. What's the slope? What's the number in front of the x? Thank you, Roberto. Say it again. 1. Invisible 1. Don't you see the invisible 1? No, it's invisible. So slope. But Roberto, how do you write 1 as a fraction?
1 over 2. 1.
1 over 1. So then, Alexia, what's the y-intercept for letter B? What's the y-intercept? You actually have to look at letter B and then tell me what's the y-intercept. You're the one who told me the number that's all by itself is the y-intercept. What's the number that's all by itself in letter B?
Y.
The number that's all by itself.
2.
Positive or negative?
Positive. Oh, negative.
Thank you. So y-intercept, you better have -2. Letter C, I'm not doing on the board, but I will be checking it for points, so you already have it done. You can tell me what the slope is, and you can tell me what the y-intercept is just by looking at the equation. Now I want you to graph them. How are you going to graph when you're given the equation? Just keep the other one that you have. If I'm given y equals 2x plus 3. Alexia, what was the y-intercept? What did you say for letter A? What's the y-intercept on that? What's the number all by itself?
4.
George, I'm sorry that's your first warning because I'm not working with your class right now. 3. And I said it's the y-intercept. So where does it go? Does it go 3 this way, 3 this
3
way,
up.
3 up? Walter, what's the slope of this line? What's the number next to the letter x? 2. But how do you write that as a fraction? 2 over 1. I go up 2, 1, 2, over 1. Thomas, how many points do you need to make a line? How many points do you need? You just need 2. I got 2 points. Connect them. This is my graph for letter A. You need to graph letter B. You need to graph letter C. You've already written the slope. You've already written the y-intercept, so it shouldn't be that difficult.
In the same graph or different graph?
Different graph. Thank you for asking.